All right, let's see. Okay. It's been a while since I've used Restream to go live, so we're going to try it and see how it does. Uh, we're making dinner. You can ask questions in the chat. And there we go. So I don't know. It's been a while since I've used this, so forgive me for. Okay, let's just see how it goes. I don't think I need to see the comments on the stream. Hopefully, they'll come through with hopefully they'll just come through, basically. Then I'll just be able to respond to them. So we're gonna start by cutting up some ham and some specs. We're actually gonna boil some water too at the same time. I'm in Denver. Where are you? Well, I'm in the Denver metro area. Not in Denver, but close enough. Lana, can you hear me? That's a good question too, right? Like, can you actually hear me? So I'm gonna start by just dicing up some pancetta and Italian speck so that we can saute it. The pasta that we're going to use tonight is a pretty high protein pasta. So we're not going to really worry about adding a bunch of additional protein to this. We're just going to use what we've got. Oh, crud. I'm spilling. And what it calls for, like sometimes I'll throw chicken in with this recipe, but we're not going to today. Okay? We'll use the chicken for something else later this week. Shannon doesn't speak English. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. I speak some Spanish, but not enough to get by on here. Sorry. Um, that is salty. Earlier, my microphone wasn't working, so if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up in the chat. I guess more than anything, the speakers weren't working. Woohoo, you can hear me. Hi, Namrofni and Konyu. I appreciate you being here. We're just making pasta carbonara for dinner. So we diced up some Italian specked and ham, and we're just gonna saute it in a pan. We're boiling some water, and we're gonna mix up some eggs. What do I think of keto and intermittent fasting? I think a clean, low-fat keto can be good for everyone. I think that not everyone can do a high-fat keto because people will struggle with like some digestive issues. Well, I'm going to get to the weight loss part. There are people who can't break down fats well genetically, so they're going to struggle with weight loss on keto if they do a high-fat keto. But if you're doing a keto that has you eating primarily like chicken and fish, almost everyone will lose weight on that. And it doesn't have a lot of like dairy. Almost everyone will lose weight on that. Intermittent fasting is a different story, right? So if you're somebody who is still, if you're female and still having a monthly cycle, intermittent fasting, you most days shouldn't fast for more than 14 hours. Because otherwise you raise your cortisol. The other thing I will say is that most people are fasting incorrectly. They're fasting in the morning and eating in the evening, and that's not actually what the research shows. And for hormone balance, it's actually one of the worst things you could do. So if you're really focused on, I want to lose weight, using intermittent fasting and keto, you should be doing a low-fat keto or like a low, like your purpose shouldn't be to get a lot of fat in. Low dairy, low lean meat kind of thing. And you should be fasting in the evening. So you can still use things in keto like eggs, chicken, fish, red meat a couple times a week, but you don't want to be focused on like, I'm going to have cottage cheese or cheese with everything because a lot of people, their system can't handle that. And that's a pretty unpopular opinion, but it's also based in reading now over 1,000 different genetic reports that show that people have trouble breaking down fats. So my answer comes from a more holistic approach to how we want to look at health. It's not just about, it's truly understanding what different bodies need for weight loss. And the hormone parts, right? Balancing the hormones with intermittent fasting. Most people are fasting in the morning because it's convenient. And they're not looking at all about what that does to hormones. So when you fast in the mornings, you actually ask your body to push cortisol even higher in order to get you through your day. And that creates insulin resistance. And the way that it does that is that the release of cortisol causes a release of epinephrine, which then causes a release of glucagon from the liver, which then causes a release of blood sugar, which then causes insulin to be released. And so you've got insulin floating in the system without any food in the system. So you've artificially spiked your insulin and can be creating insulin resistance. And that's the reality of it. For women in particular, it's extremely detrimental to their hormones. I'm just going to grab the food processor here really quickly to be able to shred this cheese even faster. So when we're talking about how to help women's hormones in particular, we want to consider all of the things involved, and that also involves managing cortisol. Because if you can't manage the cortisol, you can't manage weight loss. So that's how I feel about it. And it's a very unpopular opinion, and I get crap for it all the time. And then I have people go through my program where we don't fast in the morning. We don't take a lot of supplements. We don't really change the exercise plan. We might have them do less, in fact. And they lose anywhere from 25 to 60 pounds in 6 weeks. And they do really well. They get rid of their high blood pressure. They stabilize their insulin. It's phenomenal what my clients are able to do just by switching to fasting in the evening. I feel like, there we go. That wasn't going on very well, and I wanted to make sure it was very secure. So that's how I feel about it. But you'll get a bunch of different opinions on it, and you have to find the one that's right for you. I think overall, eating healthy vegetables, healthy meats is good for you. And even eating things like berries that are healthier for you can be great. Okay. I'm just reading the instructions here. Okay. So wait. Where is in a small bowl, eggs and the cheese. Okay. Let's see if that's going to fit. It's not. We got to cut those smaller. Let's see if that's going to fit. Nope, still got to go smaller. How many of you have made... you're welcome. Hi, Ozcan. How are you? How many of you have made pasta carbonara from scratch? I'm just curious. This is only my second time making it. So we're going to put the pancetta and the ham in this bowl because we're going to end up tossing the pasta in here with it. We are going to grate up the cheese and we are going to beat the eggs up and then add some of the cheese to the eggs so that we can make a sauce with that. And then we'll reserve some of the sauce for the top. Just missing a piece of my food processor. Sorry. Okay. So we have the disc in there. We're just going to hit start. This is going to be loud for a minute, so I apologize. Do I prescribe DIM, and if a woman takes DIM for too long, can her estrogen get too low? I do recommend DIM for a lot of people who have issues with estrogen and testosterone balance. And for anyone who's on hormone replacement therapy using testosterone, I definitely recommend it. Typically what we see is even with DIM, you would need to take a lot of it to stop the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. So there are some people who convert it faster than others. So if you're one of those people who really, your body is very efficient at converting testosterone to estrogen, we can play with the level of DIM that you have. But I've never, so even trial and error on myself, I have taken up to 400 milligrams of DIM for 6 weeks at a time and not seen a difference in my estrogen level. So you can take pretty high doses. It depends though also again on like what's happening in your genetics for your liver and how much support your NRF2 pathway needs. Loud again for a second, sorry. Sorry, that was closer to 6 seconds of loud. So it just really depends on the person and what their genetics show, because someone's genetics plays a huge role in how their body metabolizes their hormones. It's part of the COMT genes, it's part of the methylation genetics, and it's part of the CYP or cytochrome P450 genetics. So I want to look at all of those things anytime I'm recommending any supplement anyway, because it makes a big difference in what we're going to recommend and how high a dose we're going to recommend, and what we're going to have them do long term. Because we don't want to keep someone on a supplement that doesn't do them any good. For instance, I see a lot of people who end up on high-dose methylated B supplements, and those methylated B supplements a lot of times are not the right thing for them. And they aren't necessarily helping when we look at the blood work and we see the homocysteine levels. Like the homocysteine levels are not improving the way that we would expect. But what we will see is they'll have symptoms of like numbness and tingling, and they'll have symptoms of like headaches and stuff. Is the DIM dangerous to take? It's not dangerous to take. It literally helps support a detox pathway in your body, in your liver. And most people could benefit from a little bit of liver detox support given our current environment. So the amount of toxins we're exposed to in a day, a lot of people are like, well, the job of the liver is to detox. But what I will tell you is that it's overwhelmed. And especially if you're having hormone imbalance prior to age 20, so you're having any kind of difficulty with a menstrual cycle, you're having, and that's like your periods are too heavy, your periods are too frequent, they're not frequent enough, you get acne with your period, you get cramping, bloating, digestive issues, any of that kind of stuff with your period, those are all signs your liver is struggling to process out those hormones anyway. And if those start happening younger, right, that's definitely a sign that the liver is overtoxic and it needs support. If that's happening As you're aging, again, it's a sign that the liver is just being exposed to too many toxins and it needs support. So we really want to focus on a healthy, balanced liver. And one of the ways to help support that is through things that help support the detox pathways. DIM is just one of those things. You can think of it as kind of taking in, on average, like a 200 milligram dose. 1 second. See, dim in my cabinet. Um, so this is a milligram dose. So a 200 milligram dose is like the small dose for a male. It's kind of usually towards the top end dose for a female, but it's the low end dose for a male, right? So that's just like taking in 5 cups of broccoli. And eating 5 cups of broccoli isn't dangerous, right? So kind of consider it like that. The pasta we're going to use tonight is this edamame pasta. In a 3.5 ounce serving, there are 42 grams of protein. So the nice thing about this is we don't have to add a ton of extra protein to this meal because we're going to get it from the pasta. This is the Explore Cuisine brand. You can pick it up at Costco or you can pick it up at on Amazon. We're going to cook this al dente, and then we're going to toss it with some of the pasta water, this egg mixture with the cheese, and then probably a little bit more of that cheese, and the pancetta and ham mixture. But first, we're just going to boil it for a few minutes. It says to only use a pound of the pasta. I just used 1.1 pounds because that's what this package is. So yeah, understanding different supplements and what they do can be super helpful, but also we want to understand what they are. So DIM is literally a portion of the broccoli sprout. Here's another supplement. So a supplement, let's talk about a supplement that would be dangerous to overdose on. So this is a supplement called GX Assist. It's for cleaning up the intestine. It has a high dose of oregano, tea tree, lemon peel, peppermint, lemongrass, thyme, and caprylic acid. This is something you would only want to take for 10 days at a time, and you would only take it for 10 days out of every 60. Does that make sense? Because even though oregano leaf has been shown to help improve the gut bacteria, if you use it too much, it does start to act like an antibiotic and it'll start killing stuff off, right? And then peppermint is a GI stimulant, so you could overwhelm the GI system with stimulants that then make the GI system require stimulants to have a bowel movement. So things like that we want to be careful with, right? But I've got this other supplement here that has black cumin seed, Jerusalem artichoke leaf, milk thistle, cumin, tangerine, rosemary, geranium, ginger, juniper, and cilantro. And these are something that you could take for 30 days straight. See the difference? So it's part of it is knowing what's in the supplement, what it does, and why it would be bad to take it for too long of a period of time. The first one for the 10-day out of every 60 is called GX Assist. I'm actually going to start taking that tomorrow. The other one is called Revitazine. It's an advanced organ detoxification complex. So there's different reasons for taking different supplements, and you want to make sure that you, again, understand why you're taking them, what they do in your body, how they act, and what are the positives and negatives. So it's kind of like, people will say, well, if you're pregnant and you have an upset stomach, drink peppermint tea. It does calm the stomach sometimes, but it can also be, I think I need a bigger bowl to toss this in. it can also be something that acts as a stimulant for the digestive tract. So you could end up with stimulant-induced bowel movements, and if you do that for too long, you might not be able to continue to have a regular bowel movement without the stimulant, and so that's just a consideration. And again, oregano can act as an antibiotic. There's some research to suggest that it doesn't necessarily kill off the good bacteria, but a 10-day dose is probably plenty, unless we're going after something really big, like say somebody has something like a chronic staph infection or a chronic C. diff, and nothing else has worked. There's actually research to show that using oregano, garlic, and rosemary can help with those chronic infections. And even antibiotic-resistant strep, staph, and MRSA on top of that. Like they did a research study where they added oregano oil and rosemary oil to gentamicin in antibiotic-resistant staph and strep, and they found that it was able to boost the effectiveness of the gentamicin by 50%. We had to move that to a much larger bowl. So now we're going to add this egg mixture and probably a little bit more of the pasta water, honestly, because I feel like it's not where I want it to be, basically. But we're just going to toss this first and get this all mixed in so that we can see what it's doing. So this edamame pasta, again, it's not that expensive. It's very high protein. It's a great way to get protein in. And this meal, the hardest part about it is honestly grating the cheese if you don't have a food processor. So otherwise it's just boiling water and like sauteing some, you could even just use ham, like deli meat if you wanted. We're gonna grab, the only bad thing about this microphone is it pulls all my hair forward and it touches my face. It's really annoying. Some more of the pasta water. And see if we can just toss this a little bit more and get it a little bit creamier. I feel like maybe also 4 eggs wasn't enough. Even though it said 3 to 4 for a pound of pasta. Hello from Brazil. How are you, Eric? I don't speak Portuguese very well, so I apologize. We're going to put some more cheese in, toss that around a little bit more, and I think we are going to end up adding some more eggs, too. But Eric is saying good evening from Brazil, so. That's about as much as I speak Portuguese. The idea is that the pasta is warm enough to cook the eggs and make like a creamier sauce, but I feel like the last time I made this meal, I actually put some of the pasta water in with the eggs and beat them, and I think that went a little better. So we're just going to grab a couple more eggs, okay? Hello from Portugal. Touristicast and Eric could probably have a conversation in the chat because they both speak Portuguese. The other thing we're going to add to this, my family likes Italian food, but they also like spicy food. So we're going to add just a little bit of kick to this. So this is the pasta water with 2 more eggs. Beautiful bright orange egg yolks on these ones. Oh, they're gonna talk in the chat, and I have no idea what they're saying. Wait, isn't a Bracco hug though? Is a Bracco hug? Yeah, see, that's better. It just needed 2 more eggs and a little bit more pasta water. That's what it needed. And I probably could have grated the cheese smaller. Let's be real. But I used the larger one instead of the smaller one because it was faster. Less noise. Less noise for you guys. This is also, these high protein pastas are a great way to kind of like, hi Brazilian brother, a transatlantic hug for you. See, I knew a Bracco was hug. That's good, right? I knew, like, I got that. And I thought it was something transatlantic, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't say that. um, okay, so this is what we're working with. Pasta carbonara with high protein pasta. Now, if you use this starchier pasta, you're also going to get a creamier sauce. Because I want high protein pasta, we're not getting as creamy of a sauce, right? So it's something else to consider. If you're using a high protein pastas, you're not going to get as creamy of a sauce. You could add a little bit of cream in here. I am not doing that. It is a high protein pasta, yeah. So 3.5 ounce serving of this pasta has 42 grams of protein. I don't know what Eric's saying. You're gonna have to translate for me. Brazil or Portugal. Ask him, can he understand anything I'm saying? Okay. That's that. Let's see if there's any more. Pasta in this water. So yeah, the starchier the pasta you have, the creamier the sauce will be. There's only little like bits in here. We're not going to really worry about that too much, but let's get the other seasoning. So a couple of years ago, someone brought me back this little packet of seasoning. It's a Erbe Picante per Spaghetti. I used pecorino, and I didn't have enough, I used Italian specked pancetta and some ham because I didn't have enough of all of it to do what I wanted to do. So I cheated a little. I have not seen guanciale here in where near me. That's not to say I couldn't get it if I went downtown to one of the other like Italian or Greek markets, but I did not see it here. And I was there over the weekend. So this, we're just going to add a teaspoon of this to start. And then see how spicy it is, and then we'll decide if we want to add a little bit more. Now, pasta carbonara is not traditionally spicy, but again, My family likes Italian, but they like it spicy. Um, so we're just gonna roll with it, because, you know, why not make food that people like to eat? All right, let's get a little fork, spool up some of this and see if we're spicy enough, or if we need a little more kick. I think we need just a little bit more. You prefer Portuguese food? Yeah, so there are a lot of people who are very traditionalist with it. This was what the Italian deli near me had, and what I could cook on a Monday night after a full day of work, school, and we still got kids that have practice this evening for swimming and lacrosse. So, what's your favorite Portuguese dish? The only dish that I know in like that I've ever even attempted to make Portuguese is moela. It's my husband's grandma makes it, and she's Portuguese. All right, let's see if that's a little spicier. Beautiful. I'm in Denver, Colorado. So, one of the questions I get asked a ton, and you guys may think this is weird, but why do you weigh out your food? I weigh it out because I have 2 teenage boys who are highly active. I want to make sure they're getting enough food, enough protein to sustain the athletics that they're doing, building muscle, that kind of stuff. And cod with cream is your favorite. Oh, interesting. Enough to recover from like an injury, right? So I want to make sure that I'm giving them what they need to recover. So I told you 3.5 ounces is 42 grams of protein. They're each going to get, South Park is from Colorado, yes. They're each going to get about 7 ounces of pasta. So they're getting a lot of protein with this meal, and there'll be leftovers that they can take for lunch. So we're just going to sprinkle a little pecorino on top too. You could use Parmesan. My kids prefer pecorino. It's fine. Do it whatever you prefer. Now, I myself am only going to do the 3.5 ounce serving because I don't need quite as much protein as my boys do, right? Because I'm not a growing 15-year-old boy. I do lift weights and I do swim, but I'm not exercising 20 hours a week like they are, you know? So I just want to clarify that. And then I don't know how much my husband wants. Let's just give him 5 ounces. How about that? That seems good, right? 5 ounces. So that one's my husband's, and then let's get mine. 5 ounces. Beautiful. All right. So, I don't know how long we've been on here. I think 40 minutes. This is 40 minutes and dinner's ready. Um, and there's leftovers for lunches tomorrow. So people can have also a high protein meal for lunch tomorrow. And I don't have to worry about anybody going hungry. We're also going to have some green beans with this. Don't worry, we are having vegetables. But that's it. So it's not hard to cook a meal that's good for you and high protein and also can seem a little bit like comfort food. If you don't cook, I encourage you to start cooking. It's not hard, it's just learning how to follow a recipe. So I'm gonna go so I can sit down and eat dinner with my kids and with my husband. Um, well, hopefully that means that you're a very good cook. Um, I like to cook. So I hope you guys have a fantastic evening, and I will chat with you guys later. Thanks for hanging out with me. Don't forget to follow me or subscribe to my YouTube channel.